Hi, I'm Donna Cranston, and we are here at our 19th annual golf outing at the golf clubs at the Tribute in the Colony, Texas. And I'm here with Dr. Scharlene Gaudet, and she is who we partner with for the traumatic brain injury treatment for all of our veterans.
Hi, Donna.
Hi.
We're so excited to be here today. We have been partnered since about 2013, I think. And we've had the opportunity to work with so many young men and women with TBI through Donna's organization.
Yeah. I happened onto TBI through a friend who was needing some veterans to put through brain treatment, and that's when I met Dr. Gaudet. And what I saw was every veteran that was going through the program was coming out with good results. And I really didn't know anything about it, but I saw the difference. And so I was like, I want to know more about this. And I met Dr. Gaudet when she was going through her residency program there, and they welcomed me to come in and listen or watch and observe what was going on. And so that's how we started. Traumatic brain injury is the signature wound of our post 9/11 veterans, and yet very little is being done by the DoD or the VA to actually treat those injuries. Medications do not treat the injury, and that only treats the symptoms of a traumatic brain injury. What functional neurology does, which is what Dr. Gaudet is, a functional neurologist, she actually can go in and, this is layman's terms, but reinvigorate or re-stimulate those pathways that aren't firing correctly, get them to fire and reconnect again, and the brain does this is what I was supposed to be doing, and then the veterans see wonderful results.
We really enjoy having the opportunity to do this. So when the guys and gals come in, we do a lot of testing, right? They fill out a lot of paperwork, so we know a lot about them before they come in. And then we have the opportunity to take that first day, and we do some testing, and it really gives us a lot of insight, like you spoke about, of what actually is functioning, what areas of the brain are communicating, what areas are not communicating. And so once we have that plan and we know what's deficient and what's overstimulated, then we can start putting a plan together to work with them to help teach them, one, educate, right? We need to educate them on what part of their brain isn't functioning like it's supposed to. And when these things are happening, this is what you're feeling. So when they leave the clinic, they know how to continue their progress, right? Because that's one of the most important things. So education is at least 50% of what we do, educating somebody on what's going on. The first day, it's usually a lot of fun. There's a lot of snickering and, how is any of this really going to help me? And the next day, they start to feel some changes, right? It may be, hey, I slept a little better last night, or I woke up this morning and I have a little bit more energy, or I don't have quite as much pain today. And there's always that smile of, could it be working this quickly? I don't know that this could work this quickly. There's no medication involved. There's none of that. So once we get to that point and they start to realize, in fact, it can in fact work that quickly. It's just about teaching your brain, again, getting those areas communicating so your brain's doing what it was designed to do, right?
So, Doc G, one of the things that I hear when I talk to a lot of the veterans many times is they don't really know if they have a brain injury because they haven't been diagnosed.
Right.
And they weren't blown up. Mm-hmm. So how do but we know what the symptoms are.
Right.
And one of the things we've learned is some of those symptoms, the lack of sleep, the outbursts of anger, which many of them deal with, forgetfulness, their cognitive issues. When we see those are just the way that the brain is presenting the injury. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And so tell me some ways that some of these veterans may have an injury or what could caused it. If they weren't blown up, what could have caused it?
Right. So there are a lot of ways to get a brain injury. And when we say TBI, most everybody thinks concussion, football, did I hit my head? And that's not always the case, right? We've, if nothing else, learned over the last few years that viruses are a big issue, right? A virus can cause a brain injury. We know that vascular, somebody's had a stroke, that can cause a brain injury. But being in proximity to a blast can cause an injury, right? And that's where most of the guys and gals don't necessarily, they didn't count all of that, right? Mm-hmm. I was in proximity, but my Humvee didn't roll over. My Humvee didn't this, right? But if they're within that mile radius, oftentimes they are in fact affected. But because they didn't say at that time and tell their chain that there was an issue, then it's not in their record. And so they just do not think that they've had an injury, but they're starting to experience all these things. And there's a lot of fear that goes into that, because nowadays people know a lot about different types of neurodegenerative brain issues. Mm-hmm. So everybody, if their memory goes bad, the first thing they think is, oh my gosh, am I getting dementia? And so once you get them past, no, that's not what this is. This is a brain injury. And there are ways that we can help you to stimulate your brain so it starts to function like it's intended to function. So there are a lot of ways to get an injury.
And another very common one, I believe, is some of the weapons that they fired.
Concussive force.
Repeatedly over however many years they served, or even in just training.
Absolutely.
Right.
And so part of that is they go in and they've fired all of these rounds in one day. And then they don't sleep for the next 36 hours. And they're dehydrated. So it's just like a perfect storm. Their brain is set up to be injured, right? Mm-hmm. Because if you were at home and you had a concussion, the standard of care right now is, go sit in the quiet, dark room, which is not a good idea either. But they never have that opportunity. They're still going day after day. And so one of the things that can happen is those small things like no sleep and dehydration can create a secondary injury. And so now they're just stacking injuries day after day, never having the opportunity for their brain to heal, right? But they didn't lose consciousness, so they don't see it as that. They didn't necessarily get nauseated at that moment, right? And they're already on an odd sleep pattern when they're out there, so they don't realize that it's not because they have to stay awake, it's because their brain is not letting them sleep. So that's part of it as well.
So if I suspect that someone has a brain injury and I send them to you, tell me about the process for what they're going to go through when they come in. That if I say, hey, can we get this person on the schedule, and we do, what's the next steps?
So the next step is somebody from our office, generally Jay or Tressa, they're going to contact them. And they are going to say, hey, we have some pretty extensive paperwork, but the more you fill out, the more we know about you, the more we can help you, right? So we're going to qualify them off of knowing about them first, right? So there's all of this paperwork. And once we've looked at this paperwork and done this medical review, then we have the opportunity to say, yeah, you know what? I think you're right. I think we see some things that could potentially be a brain injury, and this would warrant further investigation. So let's get them in for an exam and let's do some diagnostic testing so we can see truly how that brain is functioning. And once we do that, then we know, yes, this is definitely something we need to move forward with, or hey, this isn't the right place for you, but I do know where you need to be next.
Okay. So on that, how many of the veterans that we have sent through who felt like they were just going to come in for diagnostics just to see, have we not kept for the 2 weeks to train?
So the interesting thing is, we talk about the perfect Marine, right?
Yeah.
The interesting thing is most of them about halfway through testing say, I really do know something's going on. I just didn't want to admit it, right? And so if they're coming into the clinic, there's already been a pre-qualification.
Yes.
Because we do not want to bring in anyone that we really truly don't believe that we have any help for, right? And we've had those too, right?
Yes, we have.
So we want to make sure that we're doing good work and we're helping the people that need to be helped. So I would say it's in the high 90s. It's high.
So one of the things I love about the clinic as well is that it's a very individualized treatment plan depending on where their injury is.
Right.
In whatever part of their brain or however it presents itself. And you design that plan for them. And they may do some of the same therapies as other veterans in the clinic,
right,
but they're not exactly the same. Can you explain that?
So one of the things, and we had this conversation with the guys because we have an open concept therapy. We want the guys and the gals that are in there to see other people going through it because it is odd, right? They're in there for therapy and they look around and it helps them to see that other people are experiencing some of the same things that they're experiencing, right? It gives them a chance to have conversation. And so one of the things we will say is, hey, you know what, this is the therapy we're doing today for this part of your diagnostics. This is what we saw, and this is what you need this therapy for. And then they hear when we're talking to the next guy, hey, you're doing this therapy, but we're doing it for this instead. And because these guys are all staying in the same Airbnb, these guys and gals, they have a chance to talk about that at night. Well, this is what they found on my diagnostics. This is what I'm doing. Well, this is what they found on mine, and this is what I'm doing. So we have the ability to say, you're doing this therapy in this way for this, but you're doing this therapy this way because of this, right?
Yeah. And so it's not a cookie cutter.
Exactly.
Everybody's going to come in and go through the same thing with that, and I love that.
Absolutely.
And then on day 9, you've
Right.
re-diagnosed them with the very same tests that you ran them through on day 1.
Correct.
And explain why that is.
So this program is 10 days in clinic. So on day 1, we do all of their exam, their history, all of their diagnostics, and we come up with a plan. And then on day 9, we repeat all of those same diagnostics so we can see what changes we've made in this 2-week period. And that re-diagnostic period also tells us what we're going to be doing for the next 6 months while they're at home. So this is a 6-month at-home program to go with their 2-week intense program inside. Because you can't get every connection made in a 2-week time frame. But if you can continue this outside of the clinic, you can get that brain to start communicating perfectly.
So my bold statement is probably that we have seen 100% success rate for every veteran coming through the program having change. Now, we can't say 100% completely because we're not comparing apples to apples because each injury is unique depending on where it is in the brain. But everyone that we have sent through has great results and life-changing results. However, we also know that they do have homework that they're going to have to work on, and the docs are very, very clear with them when they leave that this is just a new beginning and you do have work to do. So I love that because, everything's not going to change overnight for long term, but we do have changes overnight.
Absolutely.
And that gives them hope.
Yes.
A hope that we hear from spouses when they're talking to them on the phone, just hearing the difference in them in those 2 weeks. So that's one of the things I love about it so much. And then it is, they do have homework to do. They call in Fridays are the follow-up days.
Fridays are
and saying what's good, what's not working. What do we need to adjust, or great, are you ready to go to the next level?
Yes. So what we do is we have that 6-month follow-up plan, and some people prefer to be contacted by phone. Some are by email. Some are by text message. So we have this HIPAA compliant system where we can contact people any way that they feel like they need to. But we do want to touch base with them by phone occasionally. We do want to talk to them, right? And so that gives us an idea of what's going on long term. So before they leave the clinic, we set up this post-care. Hey, this is what your post-care looks like, right? These are the days we're calling. These are the times we're calling. And this is the expectation, right? We expect that you make your calls. We expect that you're going to do your homework. And we expect that if there's something you're having challenges with, that you're going to let's talk about it, right?
Yeah.
And so we want to make sure that they realize that once they're out, they're not out of the clinic. They're not out of the brain family. You're still here. We're still communicating. We're still here to help you. And so at any point that you say, hey, doc, I'm really good at what I'm doing, I'm going to say, you know what? That's fantastic. Send me a video. I want to see that. I want to see how good you're doing because that's going to help me to progress them to the next level, right? I want to keep progressing as much as they want to progress.
Yes. And one of the things I love about this treatment too is they don't lose what has changed, right?
Exactly.
Like their brain won't revert back to where it was.
Correct.
Because those pathways have been open and you strengthen those pathways through all the exercises or if that's the right lingo,
that's a good
I don't know.
Yeah.
But I love that. And then if they do their homework, they do continue to get better.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we've had several of the guys and gals come back at the 1-year mark. And the ones that really didn't stick with the homework, but at the only occasion and things like that, their diagnostics have not regressed. Yes. They are still at least as good as they were when they left.
Yes.
The people that continue to do their homework have exponential growth
Yep.
past leaving. So we get to see all of it. But the fact that they're not regressing is by far the most important.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. So that's what we're doing for the TBI treatment. Do you have anything else you want to say?
You know, if you are a family member, civilian or veteran, right? If you're a family member and you feel like someone is having some challenges and you think that they may have injured themselves, right? Whether it was gunfire or whether it was some other type of brain injury, reach out. We're happy to answer questions. And again, if we're not the right place for you, we're happy to help find places that are for you.
Yeah. So I would just say that if you're struggling, if you're a veteran out there or a family member, just reach out to us at defendersoffreedom.us or send us a message on our Facebook page. We want to help post 9/11 veterans. This is the signature wound of our post 9/11 veterans, and we will be more than happy to help you.